Good evening, race fans. Welcome to another edition of Motorsports Magazine on what has turned out to be the biggest night of the race of the year for our Flying Tiger division. Highlights tonight, we'll have a regular show for our street stocks and late model sportsmen, but a 100-lap main event invitational for the Flying Tigers tonight. They'll even get to use the infield pits for that main event, something they have never done before. However, Mother Nature may not cooperate. One of those nights that rain is imminent, as they say. We've had a couple of big showers already. We haven't even turned a car on the track for practice, but we are keeping our fingers crossed that we'll get all the racing in. Right now, I'd like to bring my colleague, Rob Knowles, and let's just remember with the rain that could come a little bit later, a race is official at halfway plus one, so if we get into that 100-lap main event, lap 51 would decide it.
Steve, that could be the deciding lap this evening in the Flying Tiger main event. That is, if we get to that Flying Tiger main event. As you mentioned, it is the biggest race of the season for the Flying Tigers. There are a good field of Flying Tigers already on hand, and I'm sure many of the drivers, particularly from the Vermont side, probably took some time getting over here this evening, so we expect the car count to increase even further. As well, there is a decent car count for the late model sportsmen in the pits, and again, a lot of those cars have not arrived yet, due to the fact that we did have inclement weather leading right up to this evening's racing card. No practices yet on the Speedway. The street stocks have just taken to the track to try to help out in the track drying efforts, and hopefully that will go successfully, and we'll be able to get some racing in here this evening, Steve.
Well, that's what everyone has come over here for, and as Rob said, a lot of guys who don't normally make the trip have come over, so for their sake, I'd like to get the race in as well. Now, the 100 laps, we said 51 would make it official. Well, that really kind of throws a wrench in some of the plans. A lot of these drivers figure, well, I've got to pace myself, but now they might think about a strategy, let's get to the front for 51, and if they don't call the race at that point, those guys may get penalized because their tires will go away and they won't be there at the end.
Flying Tiger feature with the extended laps. A lot of good cars come to mind as potential winners of that, but I think you got to top the list with our point leader, and that's Eric Williams.
You top the list with the 77 of Williams. I have someone else who I'll make a favor. The 0 of Mark Barnier. Both those guys could win. They probably will finish 1-2. I give Barnier the advantage because he seems to be a little more careful in traffic. Williams makes one mistake, he'll probably take himself out of it, and with 100 laps, it's a better chance he'll make the mistake.
Also not to be counted out, of course, Eldred Hutchins, Jason Leo. Fine field of cars in the Flying Tigers this evening. Some cars who you haven't seen at Airborne previous to this date. So there'll be some new faces as well out on the track.
Yeah, Ricky Dennis is back, and we know Ricky Dennis can turn a quick lap here, and that is a guy who I definitely would keep an eye on, the Emerald City Bedrooms 32 machine. But, someone here who has not won a race yet is fourth in points, one of the local guys. Watch out for that 51 of Marchetti. He's one of those guys, he never seems to win, but boy, he's always in the top. 100 laps, maybe the distance he wants.
Now, the added distance also, not only does it give the cars like Eric Williams, Eldred Hutchins, Jason Leo, not only does it give them added time to get to the front of the pack, it also gives them added time to get in trouble, doesn't it?
Well, that's exactly why I'm going a little bit against Williams. Remember, he's the master of the three-wide moving. As a points leader coming in, he'll get a little bit less respect than Mark Barnier and some of the other guys. So guys like Leo and Williams have to be a little extra careful. With the extra cars here, the extra laps, more of a chance something will happen to him, and that's why I gave the nod to the 0.
Late model sportsman, good field of cars here this week. Last week, what a win for the 79 of Galen Wood. First career, it's his first career in a late model sportsman since we've made the change back to asphalt. But of course, Galen used to run on the asphalt before there was dirt here at Airborne. So who knows? Maybe he had wins back then. You remember?
He must have had one along the way. It was a long time ago. Then, of course, he jumped into the dirt modified ranks, and now he's back in the asphalt with the late model sportsman division. Finally got that car tuned in last week. And I talked to Galen before we did the opening. We told him, you're not going to start up front. You know that, don't you? He said, I'd rather start behind and work my way up anyway. So we'll see what happens to him tonight.
But a good win nonetheless for car 79 and a happy crew on Galen Wood's car after the races were completed. But, of course, we look at the points battle in the late model sportsman, and you see Dave Whitcomb at the top, and he is being doggedly pursued right now by Brent Dragon.
No doubt about that. The 25 of Whitcomb comes in tonight with a 39-point lead over the Zero Dragon, 847 to 808. Scott Carpenter, our defending champ, has 786. Pete Fecto, 771. And rookie Ron Weston rounds out the top 5 with 753. Wickham has a lead. It's not a comfortable lead, and anytime the Zero, Brent Dragon, is out on that track, he could win a race. So I think Dave better be a little careful the rest of the year.
I would say those cars that are in the top 5 are still within striking range to pull off a track championship, wouldn't you?
Oh, no doubt about it. Those are the guys who I would look at for the end of the year. Remember, we have tonight, if we get it in, 2 more weeks in August, and then the Fall Folies weekend, so you cannot afford to make a mistake, and if you're any farther back than that, it's going to be tough. In case you're wondering, 6 through 10, Joe Thomas, Steve Reddit, Bucko Branham, Doug Hoare, and Glenn Wright. Now, those guys are very good out there, but they didn't have a good beginning of the year, and that's what's hurt them to maybe win the track championship.
Of course, in Steve Reddit's case, 1 week took him out of the points chase as he missed the double points. Flying Tiger, as we mentioned, Eric Williams is the leader not only here at Airborne, but he's also the leader over at Thunder Road. Who's chasing Eric Williams for the points chase?
Should come as no surprise. The 8 of Jason Leo is not quite on his bumper. Eric Williams has passed the 1,000-point mark. Eric has 1,034. Jason Leo, 973. But Jason better be careful because behind him, Elder Hutchins with 905, Mark Eddy, 814, and Mike Bushy, 811. So those guys for 3, 4, and 5 have really got a good little battle going. And Jason Leo may not have second in his pocket yet.
Well, I would think Leo is still within striking range on Eric Williams, but it's getting real late. And for Leo to have a shot at the track championship, he's going to have a lot of things go his way, including Eric Williams having some misfortune.
Now, 61 points the difference going in tonight. That's a lot of points with so few races left, but it is not an impossible margin to catch up. And like Rob said, Eric Williams could have problems. You may remember last week of the semi-feature, he turned off the track with a lap or 2 to go, and we all said, what's wrong? Something wrong with the car? You're not going to believe this one, fans. Remember a couple of months ago, Mark Martin at a Busch Grand National race, I shouldn't say pitted, went in the pits with 1 lap to go under caution, thought the race was over? That's what Eric did. He thought the race was over and went in too early.
Talk about leaving a race early last week. That's what happened to our point leader in the street stocks, Brian Pugh, as he went, 1 or 2 laps before something let go under the hood on car 29. So the 92 car of Dan Gibbs figures, oh, geez, this is good. The man I'm pursuing, he's gone out early. And what happens to Gibbs with about 6 to go? He heads to the pits, and he doesn't return.
And then Brian Pugh said, thank you very much. In case you're wondering, Brian Pugh's prom talked to him in the race in the pits after the race. Big hole in the radiator knocked him out. You can't go far with that. Now, how close would it have been? Well, remember, Dan Gibbs left the race early. Would have definitely made up a lot more points. They go in tonight, Brian Pugh's lead over Dan Gibbs, 6. So obviously Dan Gibbs would have taken the points lead. A close race, 6 points, 906 to 900. Then we dropped 61 points back to Terry Gunnup with 839, Bob Wells 818, and the 66 of Corey Trombley, who has started to move up there a little bit. He is 5th with 786.
Steve Hayes, as we've mentioned numerous times now, the headliners on tonight's card, the Flying Tigers with their 100-lap main event. Should mention to the fans, next week you will be back. Solo effort for Steve Hayes next week. I am headed down to the New Hampshire, Massachusetts area, and we'll have a special edition of Motorsports Magazine coming up later on in September as I'm headed down to take in an International Super Modified Association race. And boy, I'm really looking forward to that one, and we'll have some footage for the fans of Motorsports Magazine. Again, that will probably be aired sometime in September when we are not racing here regularly at Airborne.
Yeah, and if you have never seen the ISMA division race, oh, you've got to make sure you watch. They are really fun to watch. A totally different type of automobile. Rob sees them quite often. He'll be covering that event, and I guarantee you will not want to miss that show.
With my luck, I'll probably get down there, pay the $20 or $25 or whatever it's going to be to get into the event, and then have the clouds open up and just pour down, and then I'm out of luck. I'm going to lose my money.
This is true. He won't be there for the makeup date, I guarantee you. But hopefully that won't happen. And hopefully it won't happen here tonight because those clouds are getting darker as we talk.
All right, so we are going to head to the pits. Nonetheless, if it does rain, you will see a couple of interviews with some of your favorite drivers here at Airborne. And we are hopeful that you will be able to see racing action, highlights that is, from the late model sportsmen, the Flying Tigers, and the street stocks. Rob Knowles along with Steve A is set to bring you highlights and interviews from Airborne. Stay with us. You're watching Motorsports Magazine on your local cable access.
My guest right now, Motorsports Magazine, one of our Flying Tiger competitors who's getting a little bit of help tonight in the pits, and we'll discuss that in just a second. The driver of the number 47 Flying Tiger automobile, Nate Esseltine. Welcome to the show, Nate.
Hello.
Well, this is a guy who normally comes in, and it's really a one-man show because he comes in, and for the most part, if there's something that has to be done to the car, Nate does it himself. Doesn't really have much of a pit crew. That's not the case tonight. With the demise a couple of weeks ago, the Labrador 29 machine, Mark drove the car, the 47 at Senair. And part of the deal, I guess you could say, is you got some help in the pits tonight.
Yeah, pretty much the deal was he wanted a car for Senair, so he took the car, he ran it up there, brought it right back to the track here tonight, and the deal was he was going to just, give me a hand. Hopefully everything will go all right. Be something new for a change. At least I'm, going to have a hand rather than having to try to do it all alone.
It's two haulers, one car type deal. Mark used his hauler to bring the car to the track. Nate brought his hauler empty, and he'll bring the car back home from the track. So basically, that's how it's going to work. We have two haulers for one car, but it had to be a good idea though. Going to Senair, Mark got a chance to go in the car, give you an idea, say, hey, I like the way this does, or maybe you could try this or something. Because tonight, helping you out there with 100 laps, maybe a point or two wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, he gave me some pointers. One pretty major pointer, which we haven't been able to correct, basically due to the lack of time to fix it and a little bit of cash flow.
Well, one thing you're going to have tonight, speaking of pitting, is you'll be using the infield pits. Now, we had a lot of rain earlier, and that's something that does not get dried, but is it something you're going to be thinking about? Eventually, you're probably going to duck in the pits or something. It's going to be a little slippery, and it's something new to all you guys.
It's a total new show for me all the way around. Hopefully, I won't have to pit. Unless I got a problem, I'll stay out.
Planning to go the whole 100, the whole distance, and some of the drivers are thinking about that, I'm sure. Well, last year you raced the division, finished 12th of the points. What's the difference from last year to this year? Because now you got the year of experience and a lot of new competition out there, though.
I thought maybe with a year's experience and come back, it was going to be a little easier this year. And in a lot of ways, it's been a lot tougher than I expected. The competition is a lot stiffer this year than it was last year.
Yeah, it's evident if you look at the points battle. All right, we mentioned that the car was at Senair, Mark drove it. Is that something that maybe you'd like to do maybe next year? If you guys get a chance to go to Senair, and we're not saying they will yet, maybe you have a chance to drive the track yourself?
I might. I can't tell at this point, just wait and see when the time comes. I would like to give it a try up there if they do run, though.
About 20 laps of normal distance. You go 5 times that tonight, 100. Nobody's going to use their normal Saturday night strategy. You thinking about maybe saving the tires a little bit, sitting back, knowing that you're going to have plenty of time to work up, or you're going to maybe think, well, maybe I'll go up in front earlier as quick as I can because if there's an accident, hopefully I won't be part of it.
I just kind of like to stay on the lead lap until about the last 15, 20, then give it everything I got.
That sounds like a smart strategy. Want to thank my guests for joining me, as I know they're going to get a chance to practice here soon, and with a big race on tap tonight, don't want to take any practice time away. The driver of the number 47 Flying Tiger with a little bit of help from the 2019 tonight in the big 100-lap main event, Nate Esseltine. Thanks a lot, Nate, and good luck tonight.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Good luck. Key points in the late model sportsman division. He jumped up from the Flying Tigers last year, and he's had some pretty good runs out there. Driver of the black number 61 LMS automobile from Plattsburgh, New York, Robin Wood. Welcome to the show, Robin.
Thank you.
Well, as I said, you pretty much had it your own way, or pretty much your own way last year with the Flying Tigers. Had some great runs. Jumped in this year as a rookie, the late models. There's been 2-3 races where you've been right there out front and almost got that first win. You probably figure it's not too far off.
No, we were running good at the beginning of the year, then we got in a wreck and tore the car up pretty good, but now I think we're back to where we want to be. We almost had that win. We had led 33 laps until Renadette turned me around, but I guess that's racing.
Well, let's discuss the difference going from a Tiger to a late model. A lot difference in the automobiles themselves, a little bit quicker speeds, and of course now a whole bunch of new guys to run with. Competition increased a bit too.
Yeah, it's a totally different feel than a Tiger car. A Tiger car is basically a modified street car, with a late model is a race car, and it's a totally different feel. Took a while to get used to all the drivers, but they're all pretty good drivers out there, so we'll be okay.
Now, there's some people who are very fortunate, and they get enough money that they can start off racing here at Airborne in the late model division, but that's not the smartest thing in the world to do. It really have to drive a Flying Tiger a couple of years to get a little bit of that knowledge of the track to jump into this division.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine just jumping in a late model without jumping in a Tiger or street stock first. It's just a big change. The cars are really fast. There's so many things to adjust on them, and I couldn't imagine just jumping into a late model without any experience.
Well, of course, if there was one night Robin maybe wish he was in the Tigers, it's tonight. They have a 100-lap main event, but Robin had 3 of those scheduled here this year at Airborne, and a lot difference when you had 100 laps. You weren't used to that. You got to change your driving style just a little bit for something like that.
Well, I only made one of the 100 lappers this year, so the 100 lapper's a long race. Just kind of pace yourself for the first 50 or so, then see where you are, and hopefully you get a good finish.
He mentioned when he led those 33 laps in that 35-lap main event that he came in contact with the 76 of Renata. If you were to look at his car when he starts tonight, he's got a nice little tire mark on the right side door. You know, I mean, it's not always intentional. You guys do come together, and you guys can pretty much get jostled around here, even if it's incidental contact.
Yeah, Tiger cars are a lot better. You can slam and bang a little bit more and get away with it. With a late model, you can rub a little bit, but as soon as you lose it, it's gone. You can't bring it back like a Tiger car.
Well, you had the advantage of going out to try to dry the track, get a couple of laps of practice in. It rained pretty heavily earlier. Now, how much do you think that's going to change when you go out for qualifying and then the main event when the sun goes down, it cools off?
It should tighten the cars up a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully it will, because my car's a little loose right now, but I think the track's pretty dry right now. It should be okay before the night's done.
I want to thank my guest for joining me. He is one of the leading drivers in the late model sportsman division, second in rookie points, 14th in points overall, but he'll probably move up some from that. Driving the black number 61 LMS car from Plattsburgh, New York, Robin Wood. Good luck tonight and maybe that first win.
Thanks.
Late model sportsman, the first to hit the track this evening. We have the first heat out on the Speedway. It's the 19 of Dave Gay and 42 of Tony